Hello, people of the internet. Today I'm gonna talk about self-love. Self-love. I've been wanting to talk about self-love for a while. It's so important and a lot of people know that.
Love yourself before you love somebody else.
But I think a lot of people don't really know how to practically apply more self-love. Today I'm gonna share with you guys 4 practical methods for how we can have more self-love in our everyday lives. Technique number 1 to help create more self-love in your life is to understand yourself. I feel like this is not commonly addressed in a lot of self-love content that I see. Really, we cannot do anything that is super important for ourselves until we understand ourselves and know what are the things that really help us and really benefit us. A lot of people express their self-love and do things for themselves in ways that are different than other people. So it's really important to understand what is important to us and what will be the most beneficial for our personal well-being. 2 ways that I have found to be very helpful for me. The first is doing a large series of different personality assessments. Most of these are free online. A couple that I really like are Myers-Briggs personality, the Big 5 personality trait questionnaire, Gretchen Rubin 4 tendencies quiz, or even looking at astrology. I get a lot of flack for being an astrology bitch, but I don't know. I really like astrology. I think it's super fascinating and has taught me a lot about myself. Obviously, we should not live by personality tests or online astrological birth charts or anything like that. But I do think that personality assessments are extremely helpful in guiding our understanding of ourselves and of other people. It's a really helpful way to process the different types of traits that people possess and that we may possess, and just learning about the characteristics that really resonate with us. So if you've taken like a personality assessment, it must be taken with a grain of salt and just use the information that ultimately resonates with you. Another way to better understand yourself, I could honestly do a whole nother video on this topic. I have a whole medley of things that I love to do, but another exercise is just through reflection and journaling prompts. Recently, I completed the Deepak Chopra's 21 Days of Abundance challenge, and there were a ton of super helpful journaling prompts that were in this meditation challenge. It is extremely helpful to journal in response to a specific prompt. So a lot of these prompts would ask questions like, what are your highest desires? What are the things that you are most afraid of? What are things that you don't like about yourself? What are things that you do like about yourself? And it's really important to reflect against specific questions and to learn not just about the positive parts of yourself, but also unpacking a lot of those negative aspects. We really cannot improve our ability to love ourselves unless we own up to our vulnerabilities and our insecurities and our fears and all the things that we generally don't like to talk about. And in understanding those parts, I feel like it helps me to understand a lot more of myself holistically. That is 2 techniques to help you understand yourself better: personality assessments and journaling reflection exercises. Okay, method 2 is to take care of your physical body. So the physical body and the mental space are very much interconnected, and I found, especially when I was in college, that I struggled to understand this balance. I was eating super unhealthy, I was eating a ton of junk food, I was not getting enough sleep, I was not exercising, and I was wondering, I was like, oh, why the fuck am I depressed all the time? Well, maybe it's because I'm treating my body horribly. And not to say that just eating vegetables is gonna cure mental illness, but I did find that I felt a lot of benefits in my overall mental space and my mental clarity once I really started prioritizing my physical health. This looks like sleeping enough, making sure you're getting enough sleep, sleeping at normal hours, getting good quality sleep, and doing what you can to just make sure you have the rest that your body needs. This also looks like making sure you're eating enough fruits and vegetables and healthy foods and not eating too many processed foods or too much sugar, you need to exercise. And you do not gotta be doing like the Chloe Ting booty challenge or whatever. You just need to be getting some movement in your day, like going outside, going on a walk, doing some very small form of movement will do you so much good. I think a lot of us inherently know that it's important to do these things, but what really helps me is to put these things in your calendar. All of us know we should exercise each day or we should eat more vegetables, but when you put it in your schedule and put it in your calendar, it becomes real when I put it in my calendar. It's not just something I'm like, oh, I'll remember to do that. I will schedule in my calendar, okay, I'm gonna take this 30-minute chunk to go on a walk, or I'm gonna take this hour to prepare some healthy food. When you put your physical activities in your schedule, I think it helps us to mentally prioritize it better too. Technique number 3 is to surround ourselves with things that energize us. So no, this does not mean we're gonna all start chugging Red Bulls, but that would be kind of fun. But this does not mean that we're gonna all start chugging Red Bulls. That is not the type of energy we're talking about. We're talking about spiritual, mental energy. So I've been reading Brené Brown's Daring Greatly, and I feel like she sums it up super well in this one sentence. She says, whenever you begin a task, you need to ask yourself, does this nourish or diminish my spirit? With your work, the food that you're eating, the social obligations you have, your day-to-day tasks and activities, you need to ask yourself, is this something that is going to nourish or diminish my spirit? The way I practically do this is you'll get like a journal or something that you can physically write in, or I suppose you could also do this on your computer, but I just personally found it easier to have a physical journal. What you will do is throughout your day or throughout your week, you'll go into your chart, you'll have one side that says things that nourish my spirit, things that make me feel excited and energized and ready to start the day and just very excited to do these things. Those are the things that nourish your spirit. And the other side of your chart will say, these are the things that diminish my spirit. These are things that make me unhappy or make me stressed or make me irritated, or things that make you feel negative emotions. And throughout the day, you'll just track everything from the smallest activities to the largest activities. So you can do this with your work. Throughout the day, you'll track things that help you feel energized, help you feel excited, in high spirits, and then also be tracking things that you're not as excited about or maybe frustrate you. And over time, as you track these activities, you'll start to notice patterns. Once you have this sort of idea of what this pattern is, that will help you to identify what things really energize you and what you need to be doing more of. People are their best selves and doing a huge service to themselves and all the other people around them when we can focus on the activities and things that really energize us. Once you have this information created about yourself, you can start making small incremental changes to help you do more of the things that excite you and less of the things that don't. And lastly, technique 4 is to let go of our perfectionist beliefs. I am definitely still working on this. I am in no means perfect at being imperfect, but I am personally someone who has struggled with debilitating perfectionism like my whole life. I've always been that go-getter, goody two-shoes, gets good grades, does all the right things, and always just wants everything to be perfect. When there is a disconnect between the reality of what something is and the expectation of what something should be, that empty space is what creates stress and creates anxiety and creates the sense of never having enough. And that's exactly what perfectionism is. Perfectionism is so much about creating this false idealized reality that things can be 100% perfect and that they can be 100% in our control. Sometimes when I am working on videos, for example, I will get super caught up in all the really tiny little details and get really hypercritical of myself and start nitpicking at all the really tiny details that really at the end of the day, someone who's watching this video probably won't care that much about. Like maybe if you're a surgeon or a rocket scientist, your work needs to be 100% perfect or people will die. But for most of us, a lot of the things that we do in our everyday lives do not have to be 100% perfect. A practical tip that we can use is developing that awareness of when we're having a perfectionist thought. So whenever I'm having these sort of perfectionist thoughts, it is really helpful to write out or journal somewhere what you're feeling and what you are afraid of and why is your perfectionism rising up in a certain scenario. From there, you're much able to process what you're feeling more clearly when you put your pen to paper and identify a lot more easily how you can get yourself out of that loop. When you develop that awareness, you are suddenly reminded of the idea that we cannot be perfect and completely flawless, and that is totally okay. It's so important to remember that it's okay to be imperfect and we don't have to strive for 150% all the time. So that was 4 practical techniques to help us boost our overall self-love in our day-to-day lives. If you did find some of that information valuable or you resonated with something I said, I would really appreciate a good old likety-like or a subscribe below. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy and inside, and that is all that I have to say for now. All right, bye!